Hey guys, Sec here again. I'll just take a drink right here. Sorry, I forgot to take a drink, but I really need to take a drink right now. Ugh, excuse me. Now, of course, why did I pick such a complicated subject to talk about? And this is something that I sometimes think about. I've been probably thinking about it for years now. And, some people, of course, have been talking about this as well. I'd say probably a lot recently about you know why are people so unhappy nowadays. you know Even though life quality has been actually slowly but surely been getting better and better and better in lots of ways, in some ways it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. Now, they of course did experiments, many experiments even in the past with mice. Now, I watched a video recently and even learned a little bit from it, actually. It's called, you know, The Beautiful Ones. And I have put it in the description of this video. I thought it was a very well put together video, and I would, suggest you guys watch it. It is a very good video, and it actually does explain a lot of things. Now, of course, they did experiments in the video that I'm talking about with mice, and it was very interesting actually. And he actually did these experiments a long time ago, a little while ago. It seems like, where this guy put these mice, of course, in this pen, and he put, I would say, basically just endless amounts of, you know, I would say supplies, etc., entertainment, etc. And when he did that, of course, at first the mice flourished. There was thousands and thousands, beyond thousands of mice, integrating and mating, etc. And it was really flourishing at first. However, after a while, the mice started fighting each other, even though there was still an endless supply of, food, entertainment, etc. Suddenly, at some points, they started fighting each other and stopped getting along. And there were some mice in particular that ended up not doing much. They would just sit around and just kind of be really laid back and just not do much. Now, of course, it also talks about how we have, I would say, an instinct, kind of an outdated instinct, where it involves, I would say, depression, which is true. Depression nowadays isn't exactly a helpful thing, but in the past, depression was more or less of a survival instinct, back in the day, because you didn't really have to do much in some cases to survive. But also, when you're against the impossible odds, as some people seem to feel nowadays, or they might feel that it's impossible to find, their occupation, thought process, etc. They feel that the odds have been put against them because of change. And not necessarily good change, but negative change. I mean, just like how nowadays, it seems like it's a lot harder to get a job than it used to be. Where it, after World War II, it was very simple to get a family and, get a house, go to college, etc. Not everybody did it, of course. It wasn't necessarily a requirement. In fact, a lot of people didn't. Even when my father went to college, a lot of people actually tended to not go to college. It was why they used to make fun of him and call him a college boy. But I digress. But at some point, all of these people, of course, started going to college, right? It's kind of like when you're standing up in a movie theater and one person stands up because they went to college. Well, of course, the people behind him can't see the fucking movie, right? But what if everybody started going to college and then everybody else in the movie theater starts standing up? Well, you see, then things start becoming a requirements. You see, the stakes start going up more and more and more. Things start becoming harder as it has become easier to obtain everything, right? So the stakes go up higher and higher and higher. And then it actually becomes a requirement because so many people are doing it. So many people are doing it that now a lot of workplaces are starting to require that you go to college, even if you have never had job experience. Or even if you do have job experience, to say the least. Now, of course, with that being said, in some ways, it has become too easy. We aren't really surviving with each other like we used to. And so, what that has done is that it's made it so we don't have to do certain things anymore, right? I mean, just like we don't really have to get married anymore like we used to. Some people do or choose to, but they don't lots of times. In fact, sometimes, getting married can actually make life harder in some cases. And the average marriage relationship doesn't last longer than 5 years? I mean, geez, that doesn't really sound worth it to me. I mean, it's like once you paid off, the wedding, then you've got to pay for something else. I mean, just fucking ridiculous. Then you got to worry about who gets custody of the kids, etc. And then on top of that, I swear, and I sometimes think it's part of the reason why I've stated before how people have become so indifferent because, they don't really have to care for each other like they used to. Just like I've talked about before, how in small towns like I used to live in, people still have to care for each other and they have to help each other out to survive and get along. Not only that, but it is very isolating, though. It can be very isolating, but you know what? We're surviving. But of course, with other places, though, that seems to not be the case. And even if when they have all of this stuff, all of this shit, it's like, it's just not making them happy. But you also see another thing I think sometimes makes people less happy sometimes, and is ruining the infrastructure, is that people are starting to expect way too much. I mean, just look at, the video game industry. I mean, there are so many games that come out, like they're just fucking amazing sometimes with these really intricate graphics and everything. I mean, 25 years ago to even 20 years ago, we couldn't even dream to make video games like we make nowadays. We couldn't even dream of it. Yet, as we get more and more and more advanced with our video games, I see more and more and more bitching of how unsatisfied people are with their video games. Because the expectation and the hype has gone so far high that now people expect too much. And it's also the same as you're going up. Because when, even when I was a kid, I was taught, if you do this and that, you'll live a happy life, or if you work hard or do this, then you'll get, rewarded, blah, blah. Well, of course, as you grow up, you realize that this is a bunch of BS. That this isn't always the case. And so, of course, with this expectation of life, which you, excuse me, one sec. God damn. With this expectation of life, you know, I think it's, how should I put it? And I just think it puts people down, you know? It just puts people down on their expectations. And here, I gotta take care of this. All right. With these expectations, it puts people down and it discourages them, you know? I think when their expectations aren't being met like it, you know, it just discourages them. But not only that, it seems like also society itself also discourages them too at the same time. Because again, it's like we don't have to get along right to survive anymore. So it's just like, well, okay, then I guess we'll just start playing this stupid ass game because we don't have to work with each other anymore, right? And then that even further discourages people. You know? That's, I would say that's probably the gist of it. I mean, that's definitely my opinion of what's making people so unhappy and what sometimes is ruining the infrastructure. But again, yeah, you can look at the video that I have put in the description, like I noted earlier. It is a recommended video I've put down there that you guys can watch. I thought it was very well put together video. That being said, I will just stop this video and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.